It began on a rain-soaked evening in October 1977, in the quiet fishing town of New Bedford, Massachusetts. The smell of the ocean lingered in the air, and the streets were damp with mist. Most houses were old, worn down by salt, storms, and time itself. But there was one house, one that even the locals whispered about. The house on Acushnet Avenue. It had been empty for nearly 20 years. The paint peeled from its wooden walls like dried skin. The windows were blacked out, as if something inside refused to let the light in. They said the last family who lived there left in the middle of the night, leaving food still warm on the table. No one ever knew why. Then came the Carters, a family of 4, desperate for a cheap place to start over. Thomas Carter, fisherman, Linda Carter, his wife, and their 2 children, Amy and Jacob, 5. They moved in on a cold Sunday morning. The real estate agent handed them the keys quickly, avoiding eye contact. He didn't stay to show them around, just dropped the keys, mumbled something about good luck, and drove away fast. Inside, the air was heavy. The smell of damp wood mixed with something sour like rust or blood. The living room had an old mirror above the fireplace, cracked through the middle. When Linda looked into it, she swore she saw movement behind her, but when she turned around, no one was there. That first night, the wind howled through the cracks of the house like a woman crying. Amy woke up screaming. She said someone was sitting at the end of her bed, whispering her name. Thomas told her it was just a dream, but when he went to check her room the next morning, he found small wet footprints on the floorboards, leading to the corner of the room and stopping there. No windows open, no leaks. The second night was worse. At exactly 3:07 a.m., every door in the house slammed shut at once. The sound echoed like gunfire. Linda ran to the hallway and saw flickering lights, one by one, going out until the entire house was swallowed by darkness. In the silence, something breathed right behind her ear. A woman's voice, soft but filled with hatred, whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." Linda froze. The air turned cold, her breath fogged. When she turned around, she saw a shadow, tall, human shape, standing by the cracked mirror, its reflection smiling, even though the shadow itself did not move. She screamed, waking the children. Thomas rushed downstairs, grabbed his flashlight, but when he shined it toward the mirror, the shadow was gone. Only the mirror remained, dripping with condensation from the inside. The next morning, Thomas found deep scratches along the wooden frame of the mirror, like something had tried to claw its way out. By the third day, even the neighbors began to notice. One of them, an old woman named Mrs. Holloway, stopped by to warn Linda. She said, "You live in the Davenport house, don't you?" Linda nodded. The old woman's eyes darkened. "That house ain't empty for no reason, dear. The woman who lived there before, she didn't just die. She was taken." That night, Amy began talking to someone again. When her mother asked who it was, Amy smiled and said, "The lady from the mirror. She says she used to live here." Linda's blood ran cold. The family prayed, burned candles, and tried to ignore it all. But the noises, the cold spots, the voices, none of it stopped. And on the 7th night, as thunder rolled over New Bedford, the Carters realized something terrifying. They weren't living in the house. The house was living through them. Sound fades. Whispers grow louder, ending in a sharp static noise. The nights grew longer in that house on Acushnet Avenue. Every evening, when the sun dipped below the gray Atlantic horizon, the house began to breathe. The walls creaked like old bones stretching. The air thickened, heavy, stale, alive. Linda Carter stopped sleeping. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard whispers right beside her ear. Sometimes it was laughter, soft, broken, like someone remembering a joke from a past life. Sometimes it was crying. Thomas brushed it off at first. "It's the pipes," he said. But he couldn't explain the scratches that kept appearing on the hallway walls. 3 long marks, running from ceiling to floor. Every night, they got deeper. Amy, the little girl, began changing too. She stopped eating. She stopped smiling. She spent hours staring into the cracked mirror above the fireplace, whispering to someone no one else could see. When Linda tried to move her away, Amy screamed in a voice that wasn't hers, deeper, older. She says this is still her home. On the 3rd week, Thomas started waking up at 3:07 a.m. every night, the exact same minute when all the doors had slammed days earlier. He'd hear footsteps above him, pacing back and forth in the attic. But when he went up with his flashlight, there was nothing. Just the smell of burning candles and something rotting. One night, he found tiny handprints on the inside of the attic window pressed against the glass from the outside. The nearest tree branch was 5 meters away. The town priest, Father Donnelly, was called to bless the house. He entered with a small vial of holy water and a wooden crucifix, trembling slightly. The moment he sprinkled the water near the mirror, it began to boil, tiny bubbles hissing across the glass like something inside was burning. The priest dropped the vial. The glass shattered. "I can't stay here," he said, backing away. "Whatever's in that house, it doesn't want God." The Carters were alone again. From that night onward, the haunting turned violent. Furniture moved on its own, doors locked by themselves. At one point, Thomas was thrown across the living room by something unseen, landing so hard that 2 ribs cracked. He told the hospital he fell from a ladder, but Linda knew better. Every morning, she'd find new bruises on her arms. Sometimes, she'd wake to the sound of someone whispering her name right into her ear, but no one was there. She stopped turning off the lights at night. Still, the shadows seemed to move. Then came the smell, strong, metallic, unmistakable. Blood. It seeped from the walls in the basement one evening, thick and dark, running like tears down the stone. Thomas touched it. It was warm. They called the police. Officers came, took samples, and left disturbed. The results came back the next day. No blood type could be identified. The same night, Amy began to hum an old tune, something she'd never heard before. Linda found her sitting at the top of the stairs, her eyes blank, singing softly to the darkness. She's waiting downstairs." Linda followed, her gaze. The basement door was open, though no one had gone down there for weeks. The light bulb inside flickered on and off, casting long, trembling shadows up the stairwell. When Thomas stepped closer, the door slammed shut on its own hard enough to rattle the entire house. That was the first time they heard the voice. A woman's voice echoing through every wall, deep, echoing, furious. "Leave this house, or join me." The family hid together in the living room, holding each other in the candlelight. The phone lines were dead. From outside, the wind screamed like someone was circling the house, dragging nails along the windows. Linda whispered, trembling, "Thomas, what if this isn't just a haunting?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the cracked mirror where faintly, in the reflection, the outline of a woman could be seen standing behind them, smiling. The Carters stood outside when the Warrens arrived. They looked exhausted, pale, broken, afraid to even step back inside. The children clung to their mother's legs like shadows. Ed Warren, in his usual gray coat and calm voice, approached the front porch. He looked up at the house and whispered, almost to himself, "It's watching us." Lorraine, standing beside him, closed her eyes for a moment. The wind whipped through her hair. When she opened them again, she said softly, "There's something in the windows, something that doesn't belong in this world." The moment they entered the house, the temperature dropped. From the living room to the hallway, every step creaked like the house was breathing under their feet. Lorraine's crucifix began to tremble against her chest. She looked around and whispered, "I can feel her, a woman who died in pain." But she wasn't alone. Ed unpacked his equipment, infrared cameras, tape recorders, holy water, and his small demonology kit. He placed a crucifix above the cracked mirror on the fireplace. Within seconds, the mirror began to hum, a low, vibrating sound, like something alive inside it. Ed turned to Lorraine. "Don't look into it," he warned. But she already was. Her pupils widened. Her face went pale. She whispered, "She's behind the glass, and she knows I can see her." The room's light flickered violently. On Ed's recorder, a woman's voice appeared, faint but clear. "Get out." Then came a deep growl, not human, not animal. That night, the Warrens stayed in the house. They set up their cameras in every room, hoping to capture proof. At exactly 3:07 a.m., every single camera turned off. Lorraine felt a sudden pressure around her throat. She gasped. invisible fingers tightening. Ed rushed to her, shouting prayers, holding up the crucifix. The air exploded in a sharp burst of wind. The mirror cracked deeper down the middle, the sound echoing like a scream. Lorraine fell to her knees, trembling. She whispered in a hollow voice, "It's not a ghost, Ed. It's a gateway. Something was summoned here." A woman opened a door, and something came through, something pretending to be her. They discovered an old trunk in the basement later that morning. Inside were letters, stained with age, and something darker, all signed by one named Mara Davenport. She was the previous owner, a widow. According to the letters, she had performed spiritual seances after her husband's death, trying to reach him. But one night, she wrote that another voice had answered instead. Her final letter ended mid-sentence. "It's in the mirror. It wants to come through." The Warrens now knew what they were dealing with. A demonic haunting, attached to a mirror used as a channel. Lorraine's trance sessions the next evening were worse. She sat before the mirror, rosary in hand, eyes closed. Within minutes, her voice changed lower, strained, like someone else was speaking through her. "I am not the woman. I am the shadow that came for her." Ed shouted, "Who are you?" The voice laughed, deep, guttural. "You call me Mara, but I was never human." Then the mirror's surface rippled, like liquid glass. A dark handprint appeared from the inside, pressing outward. Lorraine screamed, snapping out of trance. The crucifix on the wall burst into flames for 3 seconds before extinguishing itself. Ed pulled her away and shouted, "We're not dealing with a haunting anymore, this is possession." They left that night, shaken, but determined. The Warrens planned to return with a priest and special relics to perform a mirror cleansing ritual. Before leaving, Ed looked back one last time at the house. In the upstairs window, faintly lit by lightning, he saw the silhouette of a woman in a black dress, watching them leave. And in her reflection, a second face appeared beside her. Not human, not smiling, just waiting. After the Warrens' first visit, the Carter family refused to stay another night in the house. They moved temporarily into a motel at the edge of town, leaving the house silent, but not empty. Ed and Lorraine returned 2 nights later with Father Chartier, a priest trained in ritual exorcisms, and 2 paranormal technicians. They brought holy water, consecrated oil, crucifixes, and a sealed chest for containment, in case the ritual went wrong. Ed's voice on the tape that night would later become one of the darkest recordings in their archives. Old tape crackled Ed's voice. November 6, 1977. Commencing ants at the Carter residence, 11:58 p.m. The mirror was still there, tall, antique. Its surface cracked like veins. Even covered in a white sheet, it seemed to pulse, as though something beneath was breathing. Lorraine could feel it immediately. "She's waiting," she whispered, "but she's not alone anymore." They gathered in a circle before the mirror. Candles flickered. The smell of burning wax mixed with something rotten, sulfur, metallic, unearthly. Father Chartier began the prayer. Ed placed a crucifix against the mirror's surface and started reading from the Rituale Romanum. For a moment, silence. Then the sheet covering the mirror began to move slowly, as if a hand beneath it was pushing outward. The candles blew out one by one. Darkness swallowed the room. Only the faint red glow from the mirror remained, pulsating, alive. Lorraine clutched her rosary, trembling. "She's here," she whispered. "She's standing right behind the glass." Then the voice came, low at first, then rising, echoing across the walls. A woman's scream twisted into laughter. "You think your prayers can save them?" The mirror's surface rippled like liquid mercury. A hand pressed through it, pale, rotting, with blackened nails. Father Chartier shouted, "In the name of Christ, I command thee." Before he could finish, the crucifix in his hand was flung across the room, slamming into the wall. The air turned freezing cold. Every breath came out in mist. Lorraine screamed. She could see faces in the mirror now, dozens of them, twisting, burning, screaming faces, trapped within the glass, their mouths opened wide in silent agony. "These are not ghosts," she gasped. "They're the souls it has taken." The entity's laughter grew louder, shaking the walls. Furniture slid across the floor. The mirror began to drip, a thick black liquid, oozing like tar, spreading across the wooden floorboards. Ed grabbed the vial of holy water and threw it at the mirror. The surface hissed smoke rising, the sound of something screaming from the inside. For a split second, the reflection cleared, and there she was, Mara Davenport, or what was left of her. Her eyes hollow, her mouth torn open into an impossible grin. "I let it in," she whispered through the glass. "Now it wants you too." The candles burst into flame all at once. Lorraine fell backward, clutching her head. Her voice changed, deep and broken. "Ed, it's trying to get through me." The entity was now everywhere, its voice in the walls, in their minds, in the mirror. Ed shouted over the chaos. "Chartier, seal the gate." The priest began the ritual of Saint Michael, his voice trembling but strong. "Defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil." The mirror cracked again, not once, but in a dozen places, each one splitting like spiderweb veins. With each prayer, it screamed louder. Finally, Ed took out a silver crucifix engraved with the archangel's sigil. He pressed it against the mirror and shouted, "In the name of God Almighty, I bind you back to where you came from." A blinding light burst through the room. The mirror shattered. A violent gust of wind exploded outward, knocking everyone to the ground. For a moment, nothing but the sound of glass raining onto the floor. When the smoke cleared, the mirror was gone. Only fragments remained, cold, blackened, smoking slightly. Lorraine opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. "It's gone, but not destroyed." Ed looked down and saw his own reflection in one of the shattered pieces. But his reflection wasn't moving the same way he was. It smiled. Static distortion muffled scream tape cuts out. The Warrens sealed the fragments in a blessed container, marked with holy oil and crucifixes. They took it back to Connecticut, locking it deep in their occult museum. But Lorraine wrote in her private notes, something that was never released publicly until years later. "Even sealed, the mirror hums every November, and sometimes, if you stand too close, you can hear her whisper, 'I'm still here.'" After the mirror shattered, the Warrens thought the nightmare was over. But evil doesn't end, it waits. For days, the fragments of the mirror sat sealed inside a blessed containment chest in the Warrens' van, locked with holy chains. Yet that night, as they prepared to return to Connecticut, Lorraine woke up screaming. "It followed us," she cried. "It's not in the mirror anymore. It's inside the house." They rushed back to the Carter residence with Father Chartier and 2 assistants. The wind outside howled like 1,000 voices. The entire neighborhood seemed to fall silent, as if the town itself was holding its breath. When they entered, the house was alive. Floors vibrating, doors trembling, the smell of sulfur thick in the air. The walls pulsed with faint, red light as though veins ran beneath the paint. Lorraine clutched her crucifix tight, whispering prayers. "It's feeding," she said. "The ritual woke it up, and now, it wants to claim this place forever." Father Chartier began setting up the altar, a simple wooden table draped in white, surrounded by candles and blessed salt. The air shimmered around it, the way heat distorts light. Ed could feel pressure building in his chest, heavy, suffocating. At exactly 3:07 a.m., every candle flame bent sideways, as if a storm had passed through the room. Then the laughter. It started from the walls, soft, feminine, but broken, echoing from every direction. "You tried to destroy my home, but this house is mine." The walls began to bleed. Thick black ooze dripped from the ceiling beams, the smell of rotting flesh filling the room. Father Chartier raised his crucifix and shouted, "By the power of the Holy Spirit, I command you to reveal your name." The lights burst. The air turned icy cold. A figure began forming in the center of the room, first as smoke, then as shadow, and finally as flesh. It was a woman, or what used to be one. Her skin was gray and cracked like burnt wood. Her mouth stretched too wide, her teeth black and jagged. Her eyes were empty, nothing but darkness swirling inside. Lorraine gasped. "That's not Mara anymore." The entity stepped forward, dragging its nails across the floor, leaving scorch marks. "You call me demon," it hissed, "but I was invited." Every object in the house began to rattle. Chairs, lamps, even the walls themselves. A violent wind tore through the living room, extinguishing the candles. The crucifix hanging on the wall spun upside down. Lorraine was thrown backward into the corner. Her eyes rolled back. She began speaking in two voices at once. One was her own. The other was Mara's. He opened the door. He promised to bring him back. Ed shouted, "Lorraine, stay with me," but her body convulsed, her rosary breaking into pieces. The demon laughed, bending backward unnaturally, its bones cracking like dry twigs. "I showed her my world," it said through Lorraine's mouth. "Now I'll show you yours." The house plunged into total darkness. The only light came from the priest's cross glowing faintly with golden fire. Father Chartier began the rite of exorcism. "Exorcizo te, omnes spiritus immun." "I exorcise thee, every unclean spirit." The demon screamed a sound so loud it cracked the windows. Blood poured from the mirror fragment sealed in the chest, even through the locks. The room shook violently. Ed shouted prayers while holding Lorraine's trembling hand. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, glowing pure white. "Ed, it's not trying to leave. It's trying to take us all." Suddenly, the floorboards beneath them split open. From the cracks, a black mist rose, shapes of hands, faces, and eyes crawling upward like smoke made of agony. Father Chartier slammed the crucifix into the ground. "By the power of God Almighty, return to the pit from which you came." Lightning struck outside. The house screamed, literally screamed, as if it had lungs, as if it had a soul. The demon lunged toward the priest, but Ed stepped between them, shouting, "You have no claim here." He splashed holy water in its face. The creature shrieked, the sound of fire burning underwater. Its body began to melt, its skin bubbling and peeling away. Lorraine, half conscious, whispered the final line of the exorcism. "Amen." A thunderous crack split the air. The demon let out one final, ear-piercing shriek. And then, silence. Everything stopped. The candles reignited themselves. The air grew still. The walls were wet, the floor soaked in black water, but the house was quiet. Father Chartier collapsed to his knees, clutching his cross. Lorraine sat trembling, staring at the shattered remnants of the mirror, now dull and lifeless. "It's over," Ed whispered. Lorraine shook her head. "No, Ed, evil doesn't die. It waits." As they packed up to leave, Ed noticed something that froze his blood. On one of the mirror shards lying in the corner, faint condensation began to form, though the air was warm, and in that mist, 3 words appeared. "Not done yet." The exorcism ended, but the silence that followed didn't feel holy. It felt empty, as if the house was holding its breath, waiting. Ed and Lorraine Warren stood in the ruins of the Carter residence. The air reeked of smoke and iron. The walls were blackened. The crucifix burned into the wall like a brand. The Carters never came back. They left town the next morning without looking back once. The neighbors swore they saw them driving away in complete silence. No luggage, no words, just fear. The Warrens took what was left of the mirror, the fragments sealed in blessed salt and holy wax, and placed them in a lead-lined box. Lorraine refused to sit in the same car as it. "I can feel it watching," she said quietly, even without eyes. When they returned to Connecticut, Ed placed the mirror shards deep inside their occult museum, behind reinforced glass, surrounded by rosaries, crucifixes, and prayer cards. Lorraine wrote in her private case log, "November 12, 1977, containment complete. Object sealed. Entity dormant." For a while, it was peaceful. Months passed, then years. The mirror never cracked again. It never leaked. It never moved. But every November, on the anniversary of the exorcism, the glass would fog from the inside. Lorraine would walk past it late at night and hear faint breathing. Once, she thought she saw a single handprint on the inner surface. The next morning, it was gone. She began dreaming of the Carter house again, of Amy, the little girl standing in front of the mirror, whispering, "She wants to come back." Lorraine woke every time at 3:07 a.m. In 1984, nearly 7 years later, the Warrens received a letter from Linda Carter. The handwriting was shaky, the ink smeared. "Dear Ed and Lorraine, we moved to Maine. The children are grown now, but sometimes, Amy still hums that same song, the one she sang in the house. She doesn't remember it, but I do. And last night, I found her looking into the hallway mirror, and she whispered, "Mom, she's back." Lorraine read the letter aloud. Her voice trembled. Ed placed it inside their case file and locked the drawer. That night, they both heard a sound from the museum basement, a faint humming. When Ed went down to check, he found the lights flickering. The glass case containing the mirror shards was fogged completely white. He wiped a small circle on the glass and froze. Inside the fog, something had written, "Hello, Ed." He stumbled backward, dropping his flashlight. For a moment, he swore he saw movement. A woman's silhouette within the sealed glass. Her head tilted, her smile too wide. Lorraine appeared behind him, whispering, "It's her. She's not gone. She's bound to the reflection." They covered the case again, doubled the seals, and blessed the entire room. But nothing could erase what they saw that night. Years passed. The Warrens aged, but the mirror never did. Visitors to their museum often reported strange sensations near it: nausea, dizziness, even hearing whispers. One visitor fainted, claiming she saw a woman's face behind the reflection. Another said she felt something breathing on her neck. The recordings from the security cameras that night, the footage distorted at 3:07 a.m. After Ed's passing in 2006, Lorraine rarely went down to the museum alone, but one night, she did. She brought her rosary and stood before the mirror's sealed box. She said softly, "You can't hurt anyone anymore. It's over." The light flickered. Her reflection began to move even though she hadn't. The reflection leaned forward, lips curling into a cold, familiar smile, and in a voice that echoed across the basement, the reflection whispered, "It's never over." The glass cracked, splitting the reflection down the center. Lorraine fell to her knees, whispering prayers through tears. Then the light bulbs burst, every single one. When the power came back minutes later, the mirror's case was still sealed, but the crack in the reflection was gone, as if it had never happened. Today, the mirror still rests deep in the Warrens' occult museum, covered by a black cloth, surrounded by holy water and relics. No one is allowed to touch it. Lorraine once told a journalist before her death in 2019, "That mirror is not an artifact. It's a wounded doorway that still bleeds. And somewhere behind it, she's waiting." Soft breathing sound builds in background. If you ever visit that museum, and you walk past the case, and you feel the air turn cold, don't look into the glass, because she might look back. Female whisper, "Still here." Echo fades into static, final heartbeat stops. Did you enjoy the story? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Horror Dream. Want more stories like this? Subscribe to The Horror Dream, and we'll bring you more darkness, just for you. If you enjoy a little chill down your spine, stick around, like, share, and hit that subscribe button, right here on The Horror Dream. Your support keeps us going, so stay with us. Subscribe to The Horror Dream for more spine-tingling tales.